Legends, welcome back to another Ruck Infringement Podcast team preview. This week, it's the Melbourne Storm. Let's get straight into it. Of course, I'm your host, Joey. I'm solo again tonight, doing this on my own, but let's talk a little bit about the Melbourne Storm. Now, as always, we start off with the ins and outs, so let's go through that. Of course, the biggest in for the Melbourne Storm, Stefano Utoikamanu, brings over lots of grunt, lots of experience from the West Tigers, and I think he'll do all right. I think he's not a bad player, and I think he will do really well in this Storm outfit. He'll definitely learn a thing or two. If we head over to the losses, not many to talk about. Remus Smith, some other players on the fringe there that have retired or left the club. Christian Welsh, big one, medically retired recently. So not much to talk about there. Melbourne have probably improved, if you could, in their recruitment process compared to last season. They haven't really lost anybody, and they've gained Utoikamanu. So very, very valuable. But let's jump into our Melbourne Storm predicted 1-17 for round one. Now, we start off at the back. Usually I would have Ryan Pappenhausen there, but he is nursing a little injury at the moment, may not be fit for round one. So I'm going to go Sua Failongo, who has set the world alight. Very, very quick kid, full of enthusiasm, agility, can evade the defense. I think he's going to be an absolute star. Got to have him in your team somewhere, so I'm going to throw him at fullback for round one. On the wings, I've got Xavier Coates and Will Warbrick. I think that speaks for itself in this Melbourne outfit. If we move into the centres, it's Nick Meaney and, of course, the ever reliable Jack Howarth, who I thought did really well last year. I thought he played fantastic for the Melbourne Storm. He will get that other centre spot. If we move into the halves, Cam Munster is back fit and firing in the 5'8" position. However, Jerome Hughes is looking like he will not be there for round one. So for round one, I will have Tyron Wishart starting at 7 there. Look, he has done a fantastic job off the bench wherever he's played, whether it be in the back line or coming on as a utility forward as well. If we move into the front row, it's your man Stefano Utoikamanu will get the start there at number 8. Number 9 is Harry Grant, the captain. And number 10, Nelson Asofa Solomona. If he is still out in round one, I'm turning towards their new bloke, Lazarus. I'm just going to call him Lazarus because I love that name, but he might start in the number 10 jersey. Move into their second row, and of course, it's the ever-reliable Alicia Katoa. I think he starts there pretty easily. And the other man is Trent Liero. I think they are the second rowers heading into 2025. And packing the scrum, the lock forward, Josh King. He has done a fantastic job at lock for the Melbourne Storm. I think he will be there again. If you look at their bench makeup, it's going to be a little bit of some fringe players, some players who may get an opportunity, some that may not. But let's have a look. I think Bronson Garlick, I think will be around that 14 jersey if Wishart does start at 7. Once Hughes is back, I think Wishart goes to 14. But we'll say Garlick at 14. I have Joe Chan in there, Alec McDonald. Nelson, if he is fit, will start, which will move Lazarus back to the bench. So there's a few sort of players you can put in there as well. Of course, their depth is quite good. Jonah Pezzett still sitting there in the wings waiting for his opportunity. It'll either be him or Wishart in that 7 jersey, but I think Wishart to start with. All right, that is our predicted 1-17 for the Melbourne Storm. Now, let's jump over to our Supercoach. Now, as you can see on the screen, Supercoach comp code 215716, and we have an NRL Supercoach comp running, the Ruck Pod comp. It's going to be fantastic. Some Supercoach championship rings up for grabs. They look fantastic, so make sure you jump in, use that code below, and join our comp. But let's look at some relevant players for the Melbourne Storm that you may want in your team. Start at the very top, of course, Jerome Hughes, the man that we talked about before, 805K, doesn't play round one. Great premium option. I think if he was starting and you wanted to go that sort of route, you could get him in. I think there are cheaper options to start off with, as we said in most of our previews. I wouldn't be going Jerome Hughes so early. I think there are other options for you to start with, but one for over the Origin period, as he is a Kiwi and does not play Origin. Let's have a look at the next name, Alicia Katoa, 717K in the second row. Fantastic premium option. Again, you wouldn't be lost if you picked him. If you want to go down having some premium second rowers to start your year, get Katoa in. I think Melbourne are on the up and up and up, and I think there's definitely points to be had there. Look at player number 3 now, Harry Grant, hooker, 691K, slightly cheaper than what we've seen Harry in the past. He's always one that I get into my team, but not to start with. I think Harry can ease into his games a little bit. He tends to start a bit slower. So I will have Harry about just after Origin, maybe for the run home. If we go down a little bit, of course, Cameron Munster, 5'8", 609K. Now, Munster, for me, he's in my team. He is looking fit and firing. I think he's going to have a big year, especially with Hughes out. He's going to be the main man there in the halves. For me, Munster's a buy. Get him in. Tyron Wishart, if he does land that halfback role, 556K, probably a bit too pricey for me at the moment, considering there are cheaper halves that you can get to combat the likes of Cleary, Hines, Fogarty, those sort of boys as well. But let's move down a little bit. Stefano Utoikamanu, a lot of people have been talking about bringing him into their side. Front row, 529K. Now, for me, he's an avoid. I just think that minutes are going to be the big factor here. When Nelson is back, does he take minutes off Utoikamanu? What happens with the forward rotation? I think you just got to view it first. You got to see a couple of games and then make a decision. He may drop some cash as well. If we move down a little bit, Jack Howarth, centre wing, 426K. Now, he's one that I've got in my team. I think he's priced. He's at a very awkward sort of range for the price, 426K. He's sort of not a cheapie, but he's not a premium option as well. He's just under that mid status. Look, I think if he lands that role, there's no one really knocking the door down to play in the centres. Of course, Grant Anderson is around the team, Bradley as well. So there are a few there, but no one really chopping at the bit. I think Howarth could get a really good run. If he does, he may be a season-long keeper. But if we look down some for the Black Book now, Jonah Pezzett, 5'8", halfback dual, 276K. If he does get a start, very, very juicy option there. Definitely one I would think about if he was to land a start, but obviously wait for that. Lazarus Valapu, who we spoke about before, 232K. Now, if he lands a starting spot, even a bench spot at 232K, it's not bad at all. He's definitely going to be a slow burn, but he'll definitely make you some cash. And, of course, the other one I want to talk about, Joe Chan, 267K, second row. He's likely to play off the bench, barring injury. If there is an injury and he does come in, he's not a bad option to get into your side. But don't forget, you can check out our Supercoach comps and our NRL Fantasy comp as well. I'll also throw the codes in the description on YouTube and Spotify. But if you are looking at the YouTube right now, the Supercoach comp code is on the screen, 215716. Make sure you jump in and play and compete with us today. All right, let's chat a bit about the Melbourne Storm. Now, we saw last year, of course, grand finalists. 80 minutes away from another grand final win. We've seen Bellamy do this year after year. Just knows how to get this team up. He is just fantastic at what he does. But let's talk a little bit about where we think Melbourne may end up this season. I've got them high again. I think they're going to be first. I think Utoikamanu, they've just added more power to their already strong, powerful side. I don't think they've really lost too many. So for me, it's up and up and up for Melbourne. I think they finish first. I do think they make a grand final. I don't think they win it. I've got the Sharks winning the grand final this year, but that is just a bit of a smoky. The Sharks may not make it based on finals history in the past. But that is my prediction this year. I've got Storm and Sharks grand final, 2016 rematch. We know what happened in that one, so let's hope Sharks fans can get on top. But we're talking about the Melbourne Storm today. I think they finished first, take home the minor premiership again for another year. All right, before we finish off the podcast tonight, I just want to chat about a dynamite player for the Melbourne Storm for 2025. Now, if you're listening for the first time, dynamite player is someone who we think is going to explode this season. It could be a rookie. It could be someone who's been at the club for 10 years. Now, my dynamite player this week comes from a man you know well, Jack Howarth. Now, we spoke about him a little bit in the Supercoach segment. I think he's going to make this centre position his own. He's come through the grades as such a promising young talent, hasn't really had much of a chance up until last season. He's really going to come of age this year. I can really sense it in 2025. He's going to have a really big season and could potentially be one of the Storm's best this season. So look for Jack Howarth to go to new heights, new levels in 2025. He is my dynamite player for this season. But that is all we have time for tonight for the Melbourne Storm team preview. Don't forget to check us out on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. Also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our YouTube is going well as well. So head on over, give us a like, subscribe, follow, a rate, leave a comment. We will answer everything. Of course, you can contact us at the Ruck Infringement Pod at gmail.com and also on our social media DMs as well. But until next time, I'm Joey. Be good.